we have ducks. We got ducks. They came home with us, believe it or not, just a few weeks ago, and look how big they already are. They grow so fast, which is one of the reasons raising ducks and chickens is different because of how so fast they grow. So here's what I've learned about it. Number one, ducks are way messier than chickens, and people will tell you this, but you won't believe them until you actually see it for yourself. And in the brooder, I was having to change out their bedding every few hours, like twice a day, twice or three times a day, if you didn't want it to get super stinky. Compared to chicks, which you could do once every couple days, 2 to 3 days, and be totally fine. So you're going to be changing out bedding a lot more often, and they're going to outgrow the brooder that you have if you have chick-sized brooder. We were only putting, say, 4 chicks in these storage containers, and that was fine for really the first 3 to 4 weeks of their life. Ducks, I think 2 weeks, and they were just monster size for that. And the amount of waste is really... it's a lot. It's overwhelming. It stinks. It will make your garage stink if that's where you keep them or wherever you're putting them, if it's an inside area. And you're going to be changing it out a lot. I think a duck turd may be the size of a chick. And that might be a tiny exaggeration, but not by much. So you're going to have to find a way to move your ducks out faster. That's the first challenge. Integrating them with the chickens, we use the dog kennel method, which worked really well. And actually, they only needed to be in the dog kennel. They only needed to be in the dog kennel for about a week. And only 2 ducks in that kennel, and it was tight, versus 4 chicks to 2 ducks. I mean, they're like at least twice the size. But we moved them out pretty quickly, and they're getting along with other chickens really well. So as for the growth, that means you feed them something different because they grow so fast, they need more protein. Everything I've read is that a duck needs between 20% as a mature duck protein, but when they're growing, maybe even more, like 24% protein. Look that up. But definitely going to make sure their feed has more protein. They also need more niacin, which you can get from adding brewer's yeast to your chicken feed. But like I said, your chicken feed is probably going to be 17% protein, and your ducks are going to need more than that. You have to figure out another way to add protein unless you get an all poultry feed, which you might find, an all fowl feed, I guess. You can also add stuff like worms and fly larvae. Something like this is a great source of protein. If you're making it yourself, you could add things like peas, lentils, oats, but you do have to process those. I'm looking into fermenting the feed that I'm making myself, but sprouting is something I've also seen online. Sprout your peas, sprout your lentils if you're going to give that as a protein source. Just look up the processing for all of this because that is really important depending on what you decide to do, ferment, sprout. But definitely the biggest differences are going to be for ducks that you're going to feed them something a little bit different. Just make sure there's some protein in there, a little extra, and niacin, which the chickens can eat. And then additionally, the waste is going to be a challenge one way or the other. We have a mobile coop. We don't have to worry too much about that. But like I said, when they're in the brooder. And then finally, water. I have had friends tell me that ducks don't really need to have like a pool to swim in. They can be raised to think they're chickens, but they do like water. I've learned that they really enjoy swimming around in it, putting their putting their bills, their duck bills in it. So they like to really get their bills in. They make special waterers for this, which we have. We have a duck goose waterer, and that is great. So you're going to have to get them something that they can get their duck bills in, even as little ones. You can put a little bowl of water in, but they need something a little bit deeper than your typical chick waterer or chicken waterer. We put this little hay feeder bucket thing in that put like a couple inches of water, and they like to stick their noses in that. It is hot out here. Woo! It is definitely summertime in Florida. Time to wrap this up. So that's the lesson that I've learned. Really, I guess 3 top things. The food, the waste, the water. Nail those, you'll be pretty well off. We are in a mobile coop. It makes things a little bit more complicated in some ways and less complicated in others for raising ducks. We're not going to be moving a pool around in the mobile chicken coop. So this hay feeder bucket deal that we're using right now, that's going to have to suffice until I think of something else. But they seem happy enough. They all do really get along. It's not really been territorial or tribal. The chickens and the ducks, they seem to get along really well. Just nail that. Feed, waste, and water. You'll be on your way. Don't forget to check out the pinned comment for ways you can support the channel. I will see you next time.